Undercover owner orders breakfast at his diner, stops cold when two waitresses avoid his table. Elliot Chin hadn't slept in 36 hours. The red eye from Portland, the 3-hour drive through back roads, the coffee that tasted like burned rubber, all of it blurred together as he pushed open the glass door of Chen's diner at 6:47 a.m., and the bell chimed. Nobody looked up. That was the first strange thing. For 15 years, that bell had meant something. It meant Marge would holler, "Morning, sugar!" from behind the counter. It meant Danny would peek out from the kitchen with a spatula wave. It meant home. But today, the sound died in cold air. Elliot stood in the doorway, baseball cap pulled low, wearing clothes he'd grabbed from a gas station, faded jeans, a plain gray hoodie. He wanted to see his diner the way customers saw it. 3 months away, opening 2 new locations had been exhausting, but profitable. He'd left this place, his first, his favorite, in capable hands. Or so he'd thought. The diner looked the same. Red vinyl booths, checkerboard floors, the vintage Coca-Cola sign buzzing quietly in the corner. But something felt wrong. The air was too thick. Too quiet. 6 customers scattered across the room, heads down, eating in silence. No chatter. No laughter. Just the scrape of forks on plates. Elliot slid into a booth near the window, the same booth where he'd signed the lease 14 years ago. Where he'd proposed to his ex-wife. Where he'd celebrated his first profitable month with a piece of cherry pie and tears in his eyes. He waited. 2 waitresses stood near the coffee station, backs turned. One was tall with dark hair pulled into a tight bun. The other, younger, blonde, couldn't have been more than 22. They were whispering. Fast. Urgent. The blonde one glanced over her shoulder, directly at him. Her face went pale. She grabbed the other waitress's arm, shaking her head violently. The dark-haired woman turned, saw Elliot, and froze. Actually froze, like someone had hit pause on her existence. Elliot raised his hand slightly. A small wave. "Excuse me? Could I?" Both women spun around and walked away. Straight into the kitchen. Fast. Elliot blinked. What the hell? He'd been ignored before. Bad service happened. But this wasn't bad service. This was fear. The kitchen door swung open, and a man emerged. Tall, mid-30s, slicked back hair, wearing a manager's badge that read, Trent. Elliot didn't recognize him. He hadn't hired anyone named Trent. Trent moved like a predator. Slow. Controlled. His eyes swept the dining room, landed on Elliot, then flicked toward the 2 waitresses now huddled near the dish pit. "Ladies," Trent said quietly, voice smooth as oil. "We have a customer." The blonde one, her name tag read Sarah, shook her head. I can't. I have to clean the... Now, Sarah." It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The command was absolute. Sarah's hands trembled. She picked up a laminated menu, gripping it like a shield, and approached Elliot's table with the posture of someone walking toward a loaded gun. "Morning," Elliot said gently. "Just coffee and the Denver omelet, please." Sarah wouldn't meet his eyes. She scribbled on her pad, nodded once, and turned to leave. That's when Elliot saw it. Her forearm. Purple-green bruises, finger-shaped, wrapped around her wrist like a handprint. Fresh. Maybe a day old. "Miss?" Elliot kept his voice soft. "Are you okay?" Sarah's pen slipped from her fingers, clattered to the floor. She bent down fast, grabbed it, and rushed away without answering. Elliot's jaw tightened. From the kitchen doorway, Trent watched. Not like a manager checking on service. Like a prison guard watching an inmate. Elliot scanned the room again, slower this time. Details he'd missed before started clicking into focus. A small black camera mounted in the corner, pointed at the wait staff, not the customers or the register. Weird angle. Wrong priority. The older waitress, the one with dark hair, had a split lip. Barely visible under makeup, but there. The fry cook, a kid Elliot didn't recognize, kept glancing nervously toward Trent every few seconds. And the customers. They weren't just quiet. They were avoiding attention. Eating fast. Leaving exact change on tables. No one asked for refills. No one complained. This wasn't his diner anymore. This was something else. Sarah returned with coffee, hands shaking so badly she nearly spilled it. "Thank you," Elliot said. She nodded, still not looking at him. "How long have you worked here?" "For months," her voice barely a whisper. "You like it?" Her eyes darted toward the kitchen. Toward Trent. She swallowed hard. "It's fine, Sarah." Elliot leaned forward slightly. "If something's wrong, your omelet will be out in 10 minutes. She cut him off, voice suddenly flat. Rehearsed. Then she walked away, faster this time. Trent stepped into the dining room, clipboard in hand, moving between tables with a forced smile. He stopped at an older couple's booth, checked their ticket, nodded approvingly. Then he approached a solo diner, a man in a trucker's cap, and said something low. The trucker immediately pulled out his wallet, left a 20 on a $12 check, and walked out. No one tipped that much for bad service. Elliot pulled his phone from his pocket, pretending to scroll, but opened his banking app instead. He had remote access to the diner's accounts. Expenses, payroll, revenue, everything. Except now, when he tried to log in, the screen blinked red, access denied. His pulse spiked. He tried the security camera feed. Same message. Access denied? Someone had locked him out. Of his own business. The omelet arrived. Sarah set it down without a word and fled. Elliot didn't touch it. He watched. Waited. Trent returned to the kitchen, leaving the door cracked open. Through the gap, Elliot saw him grab Sarah's arm, the bruised one, and squeeze. She winced but didn't pull away. Couldn't. Trent leaned close, whispered something that made her eyes water, then shoved her toward the coffee station. Elliot's hands curled into fists. He stood, left a 20 on the table, and walked toward the exit. At the door, he paused. Turned back. Made eye contact with Sarah one more time. She stared at him, lips pressed tight, eyes screaming something she couldn't say. Then Trent appeared behind her, hand resting on her shoulder. Possessive. Threatening. Elliot pushed through the door and stepped into the cold morning air. But he didn't leave. He walked around the side of the building, into the narrow alley between the diner and the old laundromat next door. He leaned against the brick wall, heart pounding, mind racing. 3 months. He'd been gone 3 months, and his diner had become a cage. The back door creaked open. Elliot tensed. Sarah stepped out, glancing over her shoulder, moving fast. She spotted him and froze, eyes wide with panic. "You need to go," she hissed. "Right now." "Don't come back." "What's happening in there?" "I can't." Her voice cracked. She pulled something from her apron pocket. A napkin. Folded tight. She shoved it into his hand. "Just go, Sarah." The back door slammed open. Trent stood in the frame, jaw clenched, eyes locked on Sarah. "Get inside. Now." Sarah's face strained of color. She mouthed 2 words to Elliot, "Please. Run." Then Trent grabbed her by the arm and yanked her back inside. The door slammed shut. The deadbolt clicked. Elliot stood alone in the alley, napkin clutched in his fist, pulse hammering in his ears. He unfolded it. 4 words, written in shaky blue ink. "Not safe. Help US." Elliot stared at the napkin until the ink seemed to blur. His thumb traced over the desperate handwriting, letters pressed so hard they'd nearly torn through the paper. "Help us. Not help me. Us." How many people were trapped inside his diner? He pulled out his phone, fingers hovering over 911. Then stopped. What would he even say? "My employees look scared. Someone changed my passwords." The police would take a report, maybe send an officer for a wellness check. Trent would smile, lie, and the moment they left, Sarah and the others would pay the price. No. He needed proof first. Real evidence. Elliot pocketed the napkin and walked back to his rental car parked 2 blocks down. Inside, he sat in silence, gripping the steering wheel, watching the diner's front entrance through the rearview mirror. Customers came and went. Normal rhythm. Normal flow. From the outside, Chen's diner looked exactly like it always had, a small-town breakfast spot with decent coffee and better pie. But Elliot knew better now. Monsters didn't always announce themselves with fangs and claws. Sometimes they wore manager badges and smiled while they crushed people. His phone buzzed. A text from his business partner, Monica, checking on the Portland expansion. He ignored it. Another buzz. His accountant, asking about quarterly projections. Delete. 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 Nothing mattered except the 4 words on that napkin. At 11:30 a.m., the lunch rush started. Elliot watched the parking lot fill with pickup trucks and sedans. Working folks grabbing a quick meal. Families with kids. A group of teenagers laughing as they piled out of a minivan. None of them knew. They'd eat their burgers, leave their tips, and drive away, completely unaware that the woman refilling their water was being held prisoner. At 2:15 p.m., the crowd thinned. Elliot was about to start the engine when the back door opened again. Not Sarah this time. The dark-haired waitress, her name tag had read Claire, stepped into the alley. She pulled a cigarette from her apron, lit it with shaking hands, and leaned against the dumpster. Elliot got out of the car quietly and approached from the side street. Claire. She jumped, cigarette tumbling from her fingers. Her hand flew to her chest. Jesus, you can't do that! I'm sorry. Elliot raised both hands, non-threatening. I'm not leaving until someone tells me what's going on. Claire's eyes darted to the back door, then to the street, calculating exits. You're the guy from this morning. The one Sarah warned? She gave me a napkin. Claire's face hardened. Then you already know too much. Go home. Forget you were here. I own this place. The words hung in the cold air. Claire's expression shifted. Confusion, then recognition, then something close to horror. You're him? Elliot Chin? Yeah. Oh God, she pressed her palms against her temples. Oh God, no. You can't be here. If Trent finds out who you are. Who is Trent? I never hired anyone named Trent. He showed up 2 months ago. Said you sent him while you were expanding. Had all the paperwork, contracts, authorization letters, everything official. He took over operations, changed the schedules, hired new people. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Then things got wrong. Wrong how? Claire glanced at the door again. We don't have time. Make time. Please. She bit her lip, eyes welling up. He started small. Dock your pay for little mistakes. Make you work double shifts without overtime. Then it got worse. He'd lose our paychecks, say we had to work it off. When people complained, he'd... She touched her split lip unconsciously. He has friends. Dangerous people. They show up after closing, take cash from the register. We're forced to watch, forced to stay quiet. If anyone tries to leave or call the police, he threatens our families. He knows where we live. Where our kids go to school. Elliot's blood ran cold. He's extorting you. He's owning us. Claire's voice cracked. Sarah's the newest. She tried to quit last week. Trent told her if she walked out that door, her little brother would have an accident on his way home from middle school. She has photos of the kid on her phone. Trent took pictures without her knowing, at the bus stop, at the park. To prove he could. Elliot felt sick. Why hasn't anyone reported this? 2 people tried. One disappeared, just never showed up for her shift again. The other ended up in the hospital. Mugging gone wrong, the police said. But we all knew. Claire's hands trembled as she pulled out another cigarette. Trent's connected to something bigger. People in this town are afraid of him. Even some of the cops. The back door handle rattled. Claire's cigarette fell. You have to go. Now. Come with me. I can't. My daughter. The door swung open. Trent stood there, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. His eyes locked onto Elliot, and for a moment, something flickered across his face. Recognition? Suspicion? Claire, he said softly. Your break ended 3 minutes ago. I was just. Now, Claire. She stumbled toward the door, shooting Elliot one last desperate look. Run. But Trent didn't move. He stood in the doorway, blocking Claire's path, staring directly at Elliot. You were here this morning, Trent said. Sat in booth 7. Ordered the Denver omelet. Elliot kept his voice steady. Good memory. I remember faces. Especially ones that make my staff nervous. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Funny thing, you look familiar. Like I've seen you somewhere before. Elliot's heart hammered. Had Trent seen old press photos? Articles about the diner's expansion? I've got one of those faces, Elliot said. Trent stepped forward, letting the door close behind him. Claire was trapped inside. What's your name, friend? David. David Park. And what brings you to town, David? Just passing through. Uh-huh. Trent pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times. You planning on coming back? To my diner? My diner. Elliot's jaw clenched. Haven't decided yet. Let me help you decide. Trent held up his phone, showing Elliot the screen, a photo of Sarah's little brother, zoomed in, recent. This town's got a lot of nice people. Be a shame if someone passing through caused trouble for them. The threat was crystal clear. Elliot forced himself to nod slowly, turned, and walked away. Every instinct screamed to turn back, to fight, to tear Trent apart with his bare hands. But Claire's words echoed, he has friends. Dangerous people. Elliot couldn't save anyone if he ended up in a hospital. Or worse. He reached his car, started the engine, and drove 3 blocks before pulling into a parking lot and slamming his fists against the steering wheel. His diner. His people. His responsibility. And he'd walked away. Elliot pulled out his phone and made a call. The voice on the other end answered on the first ring. Chun. Didn't expect to hear from you today, Marcus, Elliot said. I need your help. And I need it quiet. The Sunset Motel smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams. Elliot sat on the edge of a sagging mattress, laptop open, phone charging on the nightstand. Outside, a neon sign buzzed and flickered, casting red shadows across the thin curtains. It was 9:47 p.m., and he'd been digging for 3 hours. Marcus Chin, no relation despite the shared last name, was a private investigator Elliot had used twice before. Once for a background check on a potential business partner who turned out to be running a Ponzi scheme. Another time for a divorce case Elliot preferred not to remember. Marcus was discreet, thorough, and expensive. Worth every penny. Your manager's a ghost, Marcus had said on the phone 2 hours ago. Trent Holloway. No criminal record. No social media footprint. Credit history only goes back 18 months. Before that? Nothing. It's like he didn't exist. That's not possible. It is if Trent Holloway isn't his real name. Elliot had felt his stomach drop. What are you saying? I'm saying someone built him an identity. Professional job, too. The kind that costs serious money. I'll keep digging, but Chen? Whatever you walked into, it's organized. Be careful. Now, alone in the motel room, Elliot scrolled through his laptop, trying to access anything connected to the diner. Security cameras, access denied. Bank accounts, access denied. Employee records, access denied. Everything had been systematically locked. But Trent had made one mistake. He changed the passwords instead of deleting Elliot's admin email from the system. Which meant Elliot still received automated notifications. He opened his email spam folder. Dozens of messages he'd ignored for months while focusing on the expansion. Delivery receipts, invoice confirmations, schedule updates. Then one email made him stop scrolling. Subject: Contract amendment approval required. Date: September 3rd, 6 weeks ago. Elliot clicked it open. Legal jargon filled the screen, dense paragraphs about operational authority and management restructuring. At the bottom, a scanned signature, supposedly his signature, granting Trent Holloway full operational and financial control during owner's extended absence. Elliot's hands shook. He'd never signed this. Never even seen it. But the signature looked perfect. Too perfect. Forged. He kept reading. The contract cited a management consultant who'd recommended Trent, Meridian Solutions LLC. Elliot opened a new browser tab and searched the company name. The website was sleek, corporate, promising. Operational excellence and workforce optimization. Client testimonials. Stock photos of smiling executives. All fake. Every single reverse image search came back to generic business sites. Meridian Solutions didn't exist. Elliot's phone buzzed. Marcus. Found something. Check your email. Elliot refreshed. A new message appeared with 3 attachments. The first was a police report from 2 towns over. A restaurant manager named Kenneth Voss had disappeared 3 months ago. His diner had been experiencing management issues, staff complaints, missing cash, strange people hanging around after hours. Then Voss vanished. No body. No leads. Business was sold at auction. The second attachment was a news article. Another diner, another town, same pattern. Owner tried to investigate suspicious activity. Car accident on a rural road. Survived, but too injured to fight the legal battle when management seized control of his business. The third attachment was a photo. Trent Holloway, except the caption underneath read, Michael Garza, shaking hands with the owner of the second diner. 3 years ago. Same man. Different name. Elliot's chest tightened. This wasn't random. This was a system. A criminal operation that targeted small restaurants, installed operatives, seized control, and used them for. What? Money laundering? Extortion? Human trafficking? His phone rang. Marcus again. You see it? Yeah, Elliot's voice was hoarse. How many? At least 4 diners in 3 states that I can confirm. Probably more. They move every 6 to 8 months before anyone catches on. Your place is just the latest. And the owners? The ones who fought back? 2 dead, 1 in prison on trumped-up charges, 1 permanently disabled. The ones who walked away and stayed quiet? They're alive. Marcus paused. I'm telling you this because you need to understand what you're dealing with. These people are professionals. They have lawyers, muscle, and connections. If you go at them wrong, you won't win. I'm not walking away. I know. That's why I'm going to help you. But we do this smart. Evidence first. Build an airtight case. Then we move. Elliot closed his eyes. How long? Give me 72 hours. I'll trace the money, find the real players behind Meridian Solutions, and get you something the FBI can actually use. 3 days. Better than getting killed tonight. Marcus hung up. Elliot stood, pacing the cramped room. 3 days felt like forever. Sarah's bruises. Claire's terror. That little boy in Trent's photo. He couldn't just sit here. His laptop pinged. Another automated email. This one was a scheduled delivery receipt from earlier today, Cisco Wholesale. After hours delivery, 11 p.m. Elliot checked his watch. 10:23 p.m. The diner closed at 10 p.m. And why would a delivery truck show up an hour after closing? He grabbed his car keys. 20 minutes later, Elliot sat in his rental car across the street from Chen's diner, engine off, lights dark. The parking lot was empty except for 3 vehicles, Trent's black SUV, an old Honda Civic, probably Claire's, and a white van with no company markings. The diner's interior lights were off, but a dim glow came from the kitchen. At 10:58 p.m., a semi-truck rumbled down the street and backed into the alley behind the building. No Cisco logo. No branding at all. Elliot got out of his car and crept closer, staying in the shadows. He reached the corner of the building and peered around. The truck's rear doors opened. 4 men jumped out, moving with military precision. They weren't delivering food. They were unloading unmarked boxes, dozens of them, and carrying them through the diner's back entrance. Trent appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand, checking items off a list. Behind him, Elliot could see Sarah and Claire, along with 2 other employees he didn't recognize, standing in a line against the wall. Supervised. Forced to watch. One of the men opened a box. Even from this distance, Elliot could see what was inside. Plastic-wrapped bundles. Dozens of them. His blood ran cold. This wasn't just extortion. His diner had become a distribution hub. Elliot pulled out his phone and started recording. The video was shaky, but clear enough. The faces. The boxes. The truck's license plate. Then a hand clamped down on his shoulder. Elliot spun, heart exploding. "Easy," Marcus whispered, appearing out of the darkness like a ghost. "I told you to wait. You're early. And you're predictable." Marcus nodded toward the alley. "Get back to your car. Now. If they spot you..." A shout came from the alley. One of the men pointed in their direction. "Run!" Marcus hissed. They ran. Elliot's lungs burned as he sprinted down the darkened street, Marcus a step behind him. Footsteps pounded the pavement behind them, at least 2 men giving chase. "Left!" Marcus grabbed Elliot's arm and yanked him into a narrow gap between buildings. They pressed against a brick wall, breathing hard. The footsteps thundered past. Voices shouting. Flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. After 2 minutes of silence, Marcus whispered, "Clear. Move." They crept back to the street and reached Elliot's car. Inside, hands shaking, Elliot started the engine and pulled away slowly. No squealing tires, nothing to draw attention. 3 blocks away, Marcus finally spoke. "That was stupid. I got video. You almost got made." Marcus pulled out his own phone. "I got better footage anyway. Been watching the place for the last hour with a telephoto lens from the rooftop across the street." Elliot's jaw clenched. "You said 72 hours. I lied. Wanted to keep you out of the way while I worked." Marcus scrolled through his phone. "But since you're determined to get yourself killed, might as well bring you up to speed." He held up the screen. Photos. Clear, high-resolution images of the truck, the men, the boxes being unloaded. Trent's face in perfect focus. "Those aren't food deliveries," Marcus said. "Based on the handling, the packaging, and the security, that's product. Could be drugs, could be counterfeit goods, could be smuggled pharmaceuticals. Whatever it is, your diner's a waypoint. They bring it in, repackage it, distribute it locally." Elliot's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "And my employees? Forced labor. They're using people who can't fight back. Single mothers, immigrants, anyone with something to lose. Keep them scared, keep them working, keep them quiet. Classic trafficking operation hiding behind a legitimate business. We have evidence now. We go to the police. With what? Video of boxes? No warrant, no chain of custody. A good lawyer would shred it in 10 minutes. Marcus zoomed in on one of the photos. We need more. Financial records, communications, names of the people at the top. Trent's just middle management. Someone's running this operation. Elliot drove in silence, mind racing. Back at the motel, they spread everything across the small table. Laptops, phones, printed photos. Marcus pulled up a map on his computer. 4 diners, 3 states, same pattern. Each one operates for 6 to 8 months before they shut it down and move on. They're due to abandon your place in the next few weeks. What happens to the employees when they leave? Marcus's expression darkened. The ones who kept quiet usually get dumped, threatened into silence, but alive. The ones who cause problems. He pulled up the police report about Kenneth Voss again. They don't leave witnesses. Elliot felt sick. Sarah, Claire, they know too much. Once Trent realizes I'm sniffing around, he already knows something's off. You showed up, asked questions, came back at night. He'll start erasing loose ends soon. Marcus leaned back. We've got maybe 48 hours before he ghosts. Maybe less. Then we move now. And do what? Storm in like an action hero? You'll get everyone killed. Elliot stood pacing. I can't just watch. You said they're using my diner as a waypoint. Where's the product going after they repackage it? Marcus pulled up another set of photos. I followed one of the trucks last week. It made stops at 3 locations: a warehouse near the county line, a mechanic shop, and a residential house in the suburbs. All owned by shell companies. All connected to Meridian Solutions. So we hit the warehouse. We don't hit anything. We surveil, we document, we build a case the FBI can't ignore. Elliot stopped pacing. The FBI? You've already contacted them. I reached out to an agent I trust. She's interested, but she needs solid evidence. Financial transactions, recorded conversations, direct links between Trent and the organization. Right now, all we have are suspicious activities and circumstantial connections. Elliot pulled out his phone and opened his banking app again. Still locked out. But something Marcus said triggered a memory. Trent filed contract amendments. Which means he had to use the business bank account to pay whoever forged those documents. And if he's paying people, there's a money trail. Can't access the accounts without triggering alerts. No. But I know someone who can. The next morning, Elliot sat in a coffee shop 3 towns over, laptop open, waiting. At 9:15 a.m., a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes slid into the booth across from him. Diane, Elliot said. Elliot. Diane Carter had been his accountant for 8 years. She'd helped him navigate 3 business expansions and 2 IRS audits. More importantly, she didn't ask unnecessary questions. He slid a USB drive across the table. Everything I have, contracts, emails, photos. I need you to trace the money without accessing the accounts directly. Diane pocketed the drive. How illegal are we talking? Corporate fraud, identity theft, probably RICO violations. She raised an eyebrow. And you're involved how? They stole my business and turned it into a criminal front. That'll do it. She stood. Give me 12 hours. I'll find your money trail. She left. Elliot returned to the motel where Marcus was still working. By 4 p.m., Diane called. You're going to want to sit down. Elliot put her on speaker. Marcus leaned in. Meridian Solutions is a shell, Diane said. But the money behind it traces back to an investment group called Hargrave Capital. And Hargrave's primary investor is a man named Vincent Kane. Elliot's blood went cold. He knew that name. Everyone in the restaurant industry knew that name. Vincent Kane owned 47 restaurants across the western United States. A hospitality empire. Respected. Powerful. Untouchable. Kane's using small diners as fronts. Diane continued. He funnels dirty money through them, moves product using legitimate supply chains, and when heat gets too close, he burns the location and moves on. Your diner's just one piece in a very large, very organized machine. Marcus swore under his breath. Elliot stared at the wall. How do we prove Kane's connected? I traced 3 wire transfers from Hargrave Capital to Meridian Solutions, totaling $200,000. Paid out over the last 6 months. Timing matches when Trent took over your diner. That's enough for the FBI? It's a start. But Kane has lawyers who'll bury this in litigation for years. You need something airtight. A recording. A confession. Something that puts him in the room with the crime. Elliot looked at Marcus. Can you get that? Not without going undercover. And that takes weeks we don't have. Elliot's mind raced. Then an idea formed. Dangerous. Reckless. What if I go back? Elliot said quietly. To the diner. Confront Trent. Get him talking. That's suicide. Not if we wire me. Record everything. If Trent thinks I'm just a random guy causing problems, he might let something slip. Or he'll contact Kane for instructions. Either way, we get what we need. Marcus shook his head. Too risky? It's the only way. Elliot met his eyes. We're out of time. The uniform fit perfectly. Navy blue coveralls with Anderson Appliance Repair stitched across the back. Marcus had connections, the kind who could produce fake IDs, work orders, and a fully stocked repair van in under 6 hours. Elliot checked his reflection in the motel bathroom mirror. Ball cap, fake mustache, wire running under his shirt to the recorder tucked against his ribs. He looked nothing like the man who'd sat in booth 7 2 days ago. Testing, he whispered. Marcus adjusted levels on his laptop. Crystal clear. Remember, your job is to blend in, plant the listening device near Trent's office, and get out. Don't engage. Don't play hero. Got it? I mean it, Chun. These people have killed for less. Elliot nodded, swallowing his fear. At 2:30 p.m., he pulled the repair van into the diner's parking lot. Lunch rush was over. Only 4 cars outside. Perfect timing. He grabbed his toolbox, modified to hide a micro camera, and walked through the front door. The bell chimed. Sarah looked up from wiping tables. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't recognize him. Good. Trent emerged from the kitchen, arms crossed. Help you? Service call. Elliot kept his voice lower, slight accent. Got a work order for a walk-in cooler making weird noises. Trent frowned. I didn't call anyone. Says here it was scheduled 3 days ago. Anderson Appliance? Elliot showed him a forged tablet with a fake work order. Trent studied it, suspicious. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His expression shifted, became urgent. Yeah, fine. Cooler's in the back. Make it quick. He answered the phone and walked toward his office, voice low and tense. Elliot caught 2 words. Kane's asking. Bingo. Sarah approached cautiously. Sir? I can show you to the kitchen. Appreciate it. She led him through the swinging doors. The kitchen was empty except for a young dishwasher scrubbing pots, maybe 19 years old, wiry build, scared eyes. Cooler's through there. Sarah pointed, then started to leave. Miss? Elliot kept his voice gentle. You okay? You look tired. She froze. I'm fine. Those bruises don't look fine. Sarah's hand instinctively covered her wrist. Her eyes darted toward Trent's office door, closed, but voices murmuring inside. I don't know what you're talking about, she whispered. Yes, you do. Elliot set down his toolbox. And I think you know I'm not really here to fix a cooler. The dishwasher stopped scrubbing. He was listening. Sarah's breathing quickened. You need to leave. Right now. Before he. I know about Trent. About the deliveries. The threats. Her eyes filled with tears. Then you know he'll kill us if we talk. Not if we stop him first. The dishwasher spoke up, voice shaking. You're a cop? No. I'm someone who cares. Elliot pulled out his phone, showed them a photo, the footage from last night. The truck. The boxes. I have evidence. But I need more. I need proof of what he's doing to you. Your testimony. Sarah backed away. No. No way. You don't understand. He has pictures of my brother. Knows his school schedule. If I say anything, I understand. But right now, Trent's planning to leave town in the next 2 weeks. When he goes, what do you think happens to people who know too much? The color drained from Sarah's face. The dishwasher, his name tag read, Julian, stepped forward. He's right, Sarah. I heard Trent on the phone yesterday. He said something about cleaning house before the move, I think. I think he's going to do something to us. Sarah's hands trembled. What can you possibly do? He's connected to powerful people. Real criminals. So am I. Elliot met her eyes. I have resources. Protection. But I need your help. Evidence from the inside. Julian looked at Sarah, then at Elliot. I have something. I've been documenting things. Taking photos with my phone when Trent wasn't looking. Elliot's pulse quickened. Photos of what? The shipments. The cash handoffs. I even recorded him threatening Claire last week when she asked about her missing paycheck. Julian pulled an old smartphone from his pocket, cracked screen, probably a backup device Trent didn't know about. I was too scared to do anything with it. But if you can really stop him, let me see. Julian unlocked the phone. Dozens of photos. Video clips. Trent counting cash. Men unloading boxes. A recording of Trent saying, "You talk to anyone, and your daughter's school has a very bad day." It was everything. Everything. Julian, this is exactly what I need. Can I copy these files? Take the whole phone. I don't want it anymore. Elliot grabbed the phone, but before he could secure it, the kitchen door swung open. Claire walked in, saw Elliot, saw the phone in his hand, saw Sarah crying. Her face went pale. What's happening? Claire, Sarah started. Trent's office door opened. Everyone froze. Trent stepped into the kitchen, eyes scanning the room. He saw Elliot, saw the phone, saw the guilt written across 3 faces. His expression turned to ice. Who the hell are you? Elliot's hand moved to his toolbox, where Marcus had hidden a panic button. But Trent was faster. He pulled a gun from his waistband and pointed it directly at Elliot's chest. Real slow, Trent said quietly. Put down whatever you're reaching for. Sarah gasped. Julian stumbled backward. Claire's hands flew to her mouth. Elliot raised his hands. Easy. I'm just here to fix the cooler. Bullshit, Trent's eyes narrowed. I know that face. Took me a minute, but I figured it out. You're Elliot Chin. The owner. The room went silent. You couldn't just stay away. Trent continued. Had to play detective. Had to be the hero. He gestured with the gun. Kitchen. All of you. Now. They moved slowly into the center of the room. Trent pulled out his phone with his free hand, dialed. We have a problem, he said into the phone. The owner showed up. He's got evidence. Yeah, I'm sure. No, we can't wait. We do it tonight. He hung up. Elliot's blood ran cold. Whatever it wasn't good. Trent smiled, a predator's smile. Good news, everyone. We're closing early today. Very early. And none of you are leaving until Mr. Kane arrives to decide what to do with you. Sarah started crying. Julian looked like he might pass out. Claire just stared at the gun. Elliot's mind raced. The wire was still recording. Marcus was listening. But backup wouldn't arrive in time. Not before Kane showed up. Not before Trent decided they were all liabilities. He'd walked into a trap. And now everyone was going to pay for it. Trent pulled out his phone again. Lock the front door, he told someone. Put up the closed sign. No one comes in. No one leaves. Through the kitchen window, Elliot saw another man, one of the thugs from the delivery truck, flip the door sign and draw the blinds. They were sealed in. The clock on the wall read 3:07 p.m., and Trent checked his watch. Kane will be here in 2 hours. Until then, we wait. And if any of you try anything stupid. He didn't need to finish the sentence. The gun said everything. The kitchen felt smaller with each passing minute. Trent paced near the door, gun never wavering, phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with whoever was on the other end. Elliot, Sarah, Claire, and Julian sat on the floor against the industrial dishwasher, backs to cold metal. 2 of Trent's men, the ones from the truck, stood guard at both exits. Big guys. Professionals. The kind who wouldn't hesitate. How long? One of them asked Trent. Kane's driving from the city. 90 minutes, maybe less. Trent's eyes swept over his hostages. Plenty of time to figure out what they know and who they've told. Sarah was still crying quietly. Julian stared at the floor, shoulders shaking. Claire looked numb, like she'd already accepted whatever was coming. Elliot's mind worked furiously. The wire under his shirt was still recording. Marcus would have heard everything by now, the gun, the threats, Kane's name. He'd have called the police. FBI. Someone. But would they arrive in time? Trent crouched in front of Elliot. Let's start simple. Who did you tell? No one. The gun pressed against Elliot's kneecap. Wrong answer. A private investigator, Elliot said quickly. He knows everything. Photos, financial records, your real identity. If something happens to me, it all goes to the FBI. Trent smiled coldly. Marcus Chin. Yeah, we know about him. Already sent someone to his motel. Should be taken care of right about now. Elliot's stomach dropped. Marcus. God, no. As for the evidence? Trent pulled Julian's phone from his pocket and smashed it against the floor. Plastic and glass shattered. Anything else I should know about? Elliot said nothing. Trent stood and addressed the room. Here's what's going to happen. Mr. Kane arrives, we have a conversation about damage control, and then we all take a little drive. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere remote. And tomorrow, Chen's diner has a tragic gas leak. Fire. Very sad. Owner died trying to save his employees. Claire's breath hitched. You're going to kill us. I'm going to clean up a mess. Trent checked his watch again. Nothing personal. Just business. Sarah spoke through tears. My brother, you promised if I stayed quiet. Your brother's fine. As long as you behave for the next 2 hours. Trent's phone buzzed. He read the message and frowned. Excuse me? He stepped into his office, leaving one guard watching them. Elliot leaned close to Claire and whispered. Storage room. Is there another exit? Fire door. Alarmed. Can we reach it? Not with 2 guards and Trent. Julian whispered. There's a vent in the pantry. Maintenance access. I've used it to sneak cigarettes. Leads to the roof. Can we all fit? Maybe. But they'd hear us. Sarah shook her head frantically. We can't, if we try and fail. If we don't try, we're dead anyway. Elliot hissed. The guard stepped closer. Shut up. They fell silent. Trent emerged from his office, face tight with tension. He barked orders to his men. Perimeter check. Now. Someone triggered the alarm at the loading dock. Both guards exchanged looks and headed for the back door. The moment they left, Elliot moved. Now. Go. He pulled Sarah and Claire to their feet. Julian scrambled up. They rushed toward the pantry. Trent spun around. Hey! Elliot grabbed a metal pot from the counter and hurled it. Trent ducked, and the pot crashed into the wall. Those 3 seconds were enough. They burst into the pantry. Julian yanked open a lower cabinet, revealing a narrow vent shaft. Here. Go. Elliot shoved Claire toward it. She hesitated, then crawled inside. Sarah followed. Julian squeezed in next. Footsteps pounded behind them. Elliot dove for the vent, but a hand grabbed his ankle and yanked him backward. He crashed to the floor, head cracking against tile. Trent stood over him, gun aimed at his face. Stupid move. Through the vent shaft, Elliot could hear the others crawling away. At least they had a chance. Where do they go? Trent demanded. Elliot spit blood. Hell if I know. Trent pressed the gun barrel against Elliot's forehead. Last chance? Who else knows? Before Elliot could answer, the front windows exploded inward. Glass shattered. People screamed. Black-clad figures poured through, FBI vests, rifles raised, voices shouting. Drop the weapon! FBI! Drop it now! Trent's eyes went wide. He tried to aim at the agents. Don't! Elliot shouted. Trent pulled the trigger. The shot went wide. Return fire erupted. Trent stumbled backward, hit twice in the chest, collapsing against the prep station. Agents swarmed the kitchen. More came through the back door, tackling the 2 guards who'd been checking the perimeter. Radios crackled. Commands echoed. Someone pulled Elliot to his feet. A woman in an FBI jacket, early 40s, all business. Elliot Chin? Yeah. Agent Victoria Reyes. Marcus Chin sent us everything 30 minutes ago. We've had teams moving into position since you walked in here. She looked at the pantry. Where are the others? Vent shaft. Roof access. She radioed it in. Within seconds, agents were climbing up. Elliot's legs nearly gave out. Marcus, Trent said they sent someone. Marcus is fine. Under protective custody. Trent was bluffing. Relief flooded through him. Kane. Vincent Kane is on his way here. Should arrive in about an hour. Agent Reyes smiled grimly. We know. We've got units waiting at every route into town. He won't get within 5 miles of this place. Paramedics rushed in. Trent was still alive barely, bleeding on the kitchen floor. They worked on him frantically. Outside, red and blue lights painted the street. Police cruisers. FBI vans. A perimeter established. Sarah, Claire, and Julian were brought down from the roof, shaken but unharmed. Paramedics checked them over while agents took statements. Sarah saw Elliot and ran to him, sobbing. I thought he was going to. You're safe now. Elliot said softly, holding her steady. It's over. Claire approached slowly, tears streaming down her face. My daughter. They said they'd hurt her if. Agent Reyes stepped forward. We have officers with your daughter right now. She's safe. Everyone's safe. Julian just stood there, staring at his broken phone on the floor, then at the agents, then at Elliot. We're really free? Yeah. Elliot said, voice breaking. You're free. At 5:47 p.m., word came through the radio. Vincent Kane had been apprehended 20 miles outside town. 3 other arrests made at the warehouse. Bank accounts frozen. Meridian Solutions dismantled. Agent Reyes gave Elliot the news personally. You did good. Reckless, but good. The wire recording and Julian's phone gave us everything we needed. Combined with the financial records your accountant provided, we've got enough to put Kane and his organization away for decades. Elliot nodded, numb. Sarah touched his arm. You came back. You didn't have to, but you came back. Yes, I did, Elliot said quietly. This is my place. You're my people. I wasn't going to let anyone take that away. For the first time in days, Sarah smiled. Just a little. But it was real. The diner was a crime scene now, yellow tape, evidence markers, forensic teams photographing everything. But it wouldn't be a crime scene forever. Soon, it would be home again. Vincent Kane sat handcuffed in the back of an FBI sedan, jaw clenched, saying nothing. Through the tinted windows, Elliot watched as agents escorted him into the federal building downtown. The man who'd built an empire on fear and exploitation looked smaller now. Ordinary. Just another criminal in an expensive suit. Agent Reyes stood beside Elliot in the observation room. He's lawyered up already. Won't say a word. But it doesn't matter. We have everything we need. What about the others? Elliot asked. The people at the warehouse, the mechanic shop? 14 arrests total. We've seized records, product, cash, millions in assets. She pulled up files on her tablet. Turns out Kane wasn't just running this through diners. Gas stations, laundromats, food trucks. 32 locations across 6 states. Your employees weren't the only ones trapped. Elliot felt sick. How many people? At least 70 we've identified so far. Some have been working under coercion for years. We'll be processing victims for weeks. She looked at him. You saved more lives than you know. But it didn't feel like victory. Not yet. Not while Sarah still flinched at loud noises, while Claire couldn't stop checking her phone to make sure her daughter was really safe, while Julian barely spoke above a whisper. What happens to them now? Elliot asked. My employees. The victims. Victim services will provide support, counseling, legal aid, relocation assistance if needed. Trent survived surgery, by the way. He's talking, trying to cut a deal. Giving up names. And the diner? Agent Reyes's expression softened. That's up to you. Technically it's still an active crime scene, but we'll release it in 72 hours. What you do with it after that is your call. 3 days later, Elliot stood in front of Chen's diner at sunrise. The yellow tape was gone. The windows had been repaired. The blood cleaned from the kitchen floor. But the scars remained. Invisible ones. The kind that didn't wash away. Marcus pulled up in his car, 2 coffees in hand. Figured you'd be here early. Couldn't sleep. They sat on the curb, watching the sky turn orange. Marcus had a bandage on his forearm, a souvenir from the one thug who'd actually made it to his motel before the FBI intercepted. But he was alive. They all were. You thinking about reopening? Marcus asked. I don't know. Maybe this place has too much darkness now. Or maybe it needs light more than ever. Marcus sipped his coffee. Those people in there, Sarah, Claire, Julian, they didn't just survive because of the FBI. They survived because you gave them hope. Because you showed them someone cared enough to fight. Elliot stared at the diner. His first business. His dream. Now tainted by what Trent and Kane had done. What if they don't want to come back? He said quietly. What if every time they walk through that door, all they see is? Ask them. That afternoon, Elliot invited everyone to meet at a coffee shop across town. Neutral ground. Safe space. Sarah arrived first, her little brother in tow, a lanky 12-year-old who stayed close to his sister. Claire came with her daughter, a bright-eyed 6-year-old clutching a stuffed rabbit. Julian showed up alone, hands in his pockets, eyes still haunted. They sat around a large table. Awkward. Uncertain. Elliot spoke first. I want to say thank you. For trusting me. For being brave when it mattered most. He took a breath. I also want to say I'm sorry. This happened because I wasn't paying attention. Because I left you vulnerable. You didn't know, Claire said softly. I should have. It was my responsibility. Elliot pulled out a folder. I've been working with lawyers and victim advocates. Each of you will receive full back pay for every stolen hour, every missing check. Plus damages. It's not enough, but it's a start. Sarah's eyes widened. That's thousands of dollars. It's what you're owed. Elliot set the folder aside. I also want to know, do you want the diner to reopen? Silence. Julian spoke first. That place took everything from me. My dignity. My sense of safety. I spent months terrified I'd disappear like Kenneth Voss. I understand. But, Julian continued, Trent took that from me. Not you. Not the diner. The building didn't hurt me. The people did. And those people are gone now. Claire nodded slowly. My daughter asks me every day when I'm going back to work. She loved coming in for pancakes on Saturdays. Loved coloring at the booth while I finished my shift. I don't want Trent to steal that from her too. Sarah wiped her eyes. I keep having nightmares. About the gun. About Trent threatening my brother. But I also dream about the good days before he showed up. When work felt safe. When customers smiled. When Danny made those terrible jokes from the kitchen. She looked at Elliot. I want those days back. I want to take our place back. Elliot felt something tight in his chest loosen. Then let's take it back. Together. But only if we do it right. He pulled out a second folder. New contracts. Fair wages higher than before. Profit sharing. Mental health benefits. Security systems that you control, not management. And an anonymous reporting system that goes directly to an outside firm, not to me. Why not to you? Sarah asked. Because power corrupts. Even good intentions. You need protection from everyone, including me. He slid the contracts across the table. Read these. Take your time. Talk to lawyers if you want. No pressure. If you want to walk away, I'll understand. I'll help you find new jobs, write recommendations, whatever you need. They read in silence. Claire spoke first. These terms are generous. They're fair. What you had before was exploitation. Julian looked up. You're offering me assistant manager? You documented everything when no one else could. You were brave when it counted. Yeah, I'm offering you assistant manager. Sarah set down her contract. I'll come back. On one condition. Name it. Danny comes back too. And Marge. Everyone who left or got forced out. We rebuild the real team. Elliot smiled. Already called them. They're in. Claire signed first. Then Julian. Then Sarah. When do we start? Claire asked. 2 weeks. Gives us time to repaint, renovate, install new equipment. I'm tearing out Trent's office entirely. Turning it into a break room, comfortable chairs, good coffee, a space that's yours. What about the kitchen? Julian asked. Where? Where it happened. New floors. New paint. New everything. But I want your input. All of you. This isn't just my diner anymore. It's ours. Sarah's little brother, who'd been quiet the whole time, suddenly spoke up. Are you going to have chocolate chip pancakes? Everyone laughed, real laughter, the kind that releases tension and fear. Kid, Elliot said, grinning, we're going to have the best chocolate chip pancakes in the state. The boy smiled. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Elliot felt something he'd almost forgotten. Hope. 2 weeks later, the sun rose over Chen's diner like a promise. Elliot stood in the parking lot, keys in hand, staring at the building. Fresh paint, warm cream instead of institutional white. New windows with cheerful red trim. A hand-painted sign hung above the door. Under new management, again, come home. Sarah had suggested the wording. Claire had painted it. The door unlocked with a satisfying click. Inside, everything glowed. New floors, warm wood instead of cold tile. Bright pendant lights replacing the harsh fluorescence. Booths reupholstered in deep burgundy. The whole space felt lighter, softer, safer. In the corner where Trent's surveillance camera had been, there was now a community board, local events, job postings, resources for anyone who needed help. The kitchen sparkled. All new equipment. The area where Trent had fallen was now under a cheerful yellow prep station. No ghosts. No shadows. Just possibility. Danny stood at the grill, older but grinning, spatula in hand. Boss! Check it out, new flat top heats perfectly. I can do 30 pancakes at once. Marge wiped down the counter, her signature red lipstick bright against her smile. About time you came back and fixed this place properly. Julian emerged from the new break room, comfortable chairs, plants, soft lighting, a coffee maker that actually worked. Everything's ready. Staff meeting in 5? Elliot nodded. They gathered in the dining room. 7 people. Sarah, Claire, Julian, Danny, Marge, and 2 new hires, both referred by Victim Services, both survivors from other locations in Kane's network. Everyone wore new uniforms, designed together, comfortable, professional, with name tags they'd personalized themselves. Elliot stood at the center. Before we open, I want to say something. This place was stolen from us. Turned into something ugly. But today, we're taking it back. Not just the building, the idea of what a diner should be. He gestured to the walls where new frames hung, not corporate photos, but pictures of the staff. Their families. Their stories. Their strength. A diner should be the safest place in town. Elliot continued. Where people take care of each other. Where everyone, staff and customers, walks in knowing they matter. That's what we're building here. Not just a restaurant. A community. Sarah raised her hand. What about when things go wrong? Because they will. Not like before, but problems happen. You're right. Elliot pulled out a small card, held it up. Every employee gets one of these. Direct line to our third-party advocacy service. You call them, anonymously if you want, and they investigate. Not me. Not management. An outside firm with real power. Claire spoke up. And if customers are abusive? We protect our people first. Always. Someone disrespects you? They leave. No second chances. This isn't retail where the customer is always right. This is our home, and we set the rules. Julian smiled, the first real smile Elliot had seen from him. I like these rules. One more thing. Elliot walked to the kitchen and returned with a sledgehammer. He approached the wall where Trent's camera had been mounted, the mount still visible, a reminder of surveillance and control. He offered the sledgehammer to Sarah. Want to do the honors? She took it, surprised by the weight. Claire and Julian moved beside her, placing their hands on the handle too. Together they swung. The mount shattered. Plaster cracked. The wall broke open, and behind it, they found something unexpected. Old photographs. Dozens of them. Hidden behind the drywall. Elliot pulled them out carefully. Pictures of the diner from years ago, the original opening day, staff celebrations, customers' birthday parties, a young Elliot grinning beside his first employee. The previous owner must have hidden these, Marge said softly. Before Kane's people took over the building the first time, they spread the photos across the table. Faces full of joy. Community. Hope. Everything the diner had been meant to be. We should frame these, Sarah said. Put them up alongside ours. Show that the good stuff was always here. The darkness was just temporary. Perfect, Elliot agreed. At 6:58 a.m., 2 minutes before opening, they stood together at the door. Through the glass, a small crowd had gathered, curious locals, former regulars who'd heard the news, reporters covering the diner that fought back. Elliot looked at his team. Ready? They nodded. He unlocked the door and flipped the sign open. The crowd filed in. The bell chimed, that same familiar sound, but it meant something new now. Marge called out. Morning, everyone! Welcome home! Customers settled into booths. Coffee poured. Orders shouted to the kitchen. The rhythm of a working diner returned, but different. Better. People lingered. Talked. Smiled. An older woman approached Elliot. Are you the owner? I am. I heard what happened here. What you did. She held out her hand. I'm a retired social worker. If you ever need volunteers for community support programs, I'd like to help. We'd love that. By noon, they'd serve 200 people. By dinner, 300. The phone rang constantly. Reservations, catering requests, interview requests. Sarah moved between tables with confidence, no longer flinching at sudden movements. Claire laughed with customers, her daughter coloring happily in the corner booth. Julian managed the kitchen with quiet competence, Danny joking beside him. At 8 p.m., during a rare quiet moment, Claire approached Elliot. There's someone outside asking for you. Elliot stepped into the parking lot. Agent Reyes stood by an unmarked car. Thought I'd check on opening day. See how you're doing. Good. Really good, actually. Vincent Kane pled guilty this morning. 73 counts. He'll die in prison. She handed Elliot a folder. The other locations, we're working with owners to help them recover. Some want to reopen, some don't. But they all asked about you. About how you did it. I didn't do it alone. No. Reyes smiled. You didn't. That's the point. She left. Elliot returned inside. At closing time, the staff gathered one last time. First day back. Elliot said. How do we feel? Tired. Danny laughed. Sore. Julian added. Happy. Sarah said quietly. Everyone nodded. Proud. Claire finished. They cleaned together, talking, joking, planning tomorrow. The trauma hadn't vanished. It never would completely. But it no longer defined them. Elliot locked the door at 10:47 p.m., and he stood outside, looking at his diner. Lights glowing. Clean. Safe. Home. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Thank you for not giving up on us. Another from Claire. See you tomorrow, boss. One from Julian. We really did it, didn't we? Elliot smiled and typed back to all three. We really did. Sleep well. Tomorrow we do it again. He drove to his apartment, his real apartment now, not a motel, and slept dreamlessly for the first time in weeks. The next morning, he arrived at the diner at 5:30 a.m. Sarah was already there, brewing coffee. Couldn't sleep, she explained. Too excited. Me too. They worked in comfortable silence, preparing for another day. Another chance. Another victory over the darkness. The bell chimed at 6 a.m., and the first customer walked in. "Morning!" Sarah called out, voice strong and clear. "Welcome to Chen's Diner, where everybody matters." The customer smiled. "I've heard that about this place." "It's true," Sarah said. "Every word." And it was.